Greetings. This is Just Now with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. This week's show is going to be a little bit different. So instead of a consultation with another nurse practitioner, this is going to be a sneak peek of the private podcasts that are in the Elite NP Inner Circle. This week's podcast is going to be about scaling and basically positioning your business to sell. So hope everyone enjoys this different podcast this week. And then next week, we will go back to our regular scheduled consultation calls. I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Bye. This is Just Now with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. This is podcast number 13 of the Elite NP Inner Circle. I know I haven't done one of these in a while, so I've decided to do these a little bit more frequently to increase the value of being a member of the Elite NP Inner Circle. So we're going to start doing this a little bit more regularly, once or twice a month to make sure that you guys are succeeding, okay? So if you haven't listened to the first 12, I would recommend that you listen to those, okay? I think they are critically important to understand those concepts to succeed as a nurse practitioner entrepreneur, okay? I covered a lot of topics in the original podcasts, but moving forward, we're going to start doing some other podcasts about some more specific topics. So today we're going to talk about selling your practice. Now, many of you probably have no exit strategy planned whatsoever for your business, and that's okay. I didn't have an exit plan at all for my businesses, okay? I had none, zero. I didn't even think about it, okay? But as I've grown and my businesses have, produced, 6-7 figures in income, this has crossed my mind. So I've sold businesses now. And so I understand the process. And if you truly want to break free, like if you truly want to basically get windfall income, okay? If you want to get a significant amount of money, okay, selling your business is the fastest way to do that, okay? So, being a business owner is great. Owning your own practice is great. It gives you lots of autonomy. It produces a great income for the nurse practitioner. You're going to make more in your practice than you ever will working for someone. I think we all know that, I talk to nurse practitioners on a daily basis who are making $200, $300, $500, even $1 million a year as a nurse practitioner. You're never going to get that being employed. It's just not going to happen. If you're making $140,000, $150,000, $160,000 a year as a nurse practitioner, you're doing pretty well. Okay. It blows my mind. There's still nurse practitioners out there still making only $100,000, $120,000 a year. With inflation, that's just not that much money. You can make more money being an RN. Okay. That's the sad state of affairs. So, being an employed nurse practitioner is great. Okay. You make a really, really good income, but if you want to stop exchanging your time for dollars, all right, if you want to essentially be free, live on your terms, basically do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want, okay? If you want to live that lifestyle, you need to think about selling your business, okay? To get a windfall income, all right, you basically have to win the lottery, inherit a lot of money, or sell your business, or, invest in something like Bitcoin was $500, a coin, and you sold it for $60,000 a coin. Okay. But that's just pure luck. Okay. Most of the time, windfall income is luck. Okay. So what you have in your control though, is to sell a business and make a lot of money really quick. Okay. So if you want a payout of $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, selling your business is the fastest way to do that, okay? If you own a business and it's producing $750,000 a year in profit, okay? Many nurse practitioners in the ENIC make that kind of money. I talk to nurse practitioners that make that kind of money all the time, okay? It's possible. Making $750,000 a year is great, but to save it up to $5 million, $7 million, $10 million is going to take many, many years, all right? Things happen. Shit happens. All right. And your business might fail. Some unforeseen regulation might happen. There are so many things that are completely out of your control that could shut your business down to where you stop making money. Okay. Selling your business, though, guarantees a very large payout. Okay. Basically, selling your business is a guarantee of your income for, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. Okay. So if you're interested in getting a lot of money very quickly, think about selling your business, okay? Insurance-based practices, cash practices, it doesn't really matter what services you offer. If it's profitable, there's someone out there that's probably willing to buy it from you. Okay. There's very large private equity funds, hedge funds out there that scoop up practices and then rebrand them under one large umbrella. Think of like Synergenics, for example, or Hims and Hers. Okay. Like Hims, for example, that's backed by private equity. Okay. The person who started Hims essentially sold it to private equity. Like it's backed by $1 billion company. Okay. So it'll grow. All right. They will outcompete you. No matter what you do, you will never be able to compete with Hims. All right. You're just not going to be able to. If you do weight loss hormone replacement therapy, you're never going to be able to compete with Hims. Okay. They are backed by $1 billion. It's not going to happen. Okay. So if you sell your business, the private equity firm that owns Hims, for example, might buy you out. They would take your practice and then basically just throw it into the Hims brand, take your patients, and essentially destroy your business. But who cares? Like they pay you $5 million or whatever. So that's kind of how selling a business sort of works. Basically just a big private equity company usually will buy you out. Maybe a local hospital system will buy you out. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to buy your business. Okay. So, what I discussed is the reason why. Like if you're just looking to get out and make a lot of money very quickly, then selling your business is a great way to do that. If you're sick of practicing, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I get kind of sick of seeing patients. Like I've been doing it for 10 years now, and I just don't see myself doing it for another 10 years. I just don't. Selling my practice is a great way to make a lot of money, and it gives me an exit strategy. It gives me a goal in the future to strive for so I can walk away with a lot of money and never have to worry about money ever again, okay? So think about this if that's what you want. If you like patient care, you like running your business, you don't know what else you would do with yourself, then, maybe selling your business isn't for you, okay? But if you want an exit strategy, think about selling your business, okay? So let's talk about how it works. Like let's talk about the intricacies of selling a business and just, how the process works and then what it is that you need to do as a nurse practitioner entrepreneur to make your business attractive, okay? So how does it work? It's pretty simple, okay? You go through a business broker. Okay, selling your business on your own is probably not recommended unless you know how the process works. Like I know how the process works. I've actually sold some nurse practitioner practices before. I actually own proibrokers.com and I actually broker practices for people. Okay, like I know the process. I know how it works. I've sold multiple businesses before, and so I do broker practices for people because I know I know the process. I know who buys these things. Okay, so the first step is to find a broker. The broker will then evaluate your business. They'll look at your profit and loss statements. They'll look at your bank statements. They'll basically get a general idea of what your business is doing from a financial standpoint, okay? When it comes down to it, selling your business is all about the numbers, okay? You have to have good books if you're going to sell your business. I cannot stress that enough. If your books are garbage, you need to fix your books. You need to have accurate numbers, okay? They evaluate your business based off of your net income. Many of you still do not understand the difference between gross income and net income. Gross revenue, gross income of your business is the total revenue before expenses. That number doesn't matter, okay? Who cares? At the end of the day, all that matters is what is your profit? What is your net income, okay? What's your income after expenses, after everything is paid for, okay? They're going to evaluate you off of that number. And then they assign a multiple to that number. Generally speaking, most practices will sell for anywhere between 2 to 5x. So basically, if you make $1 million a year, okay, you can expect a payout of anywhere between $2 and $5 million, okay? A 2 to 5x multiple. That's what's going to be assigned to your clinic to evaluate it and sell it. Okay. So market rate right now in 2024 is about 3x. You might get 4 or 5x if you do a lot of business. If you make a lot of money, multiple locations, telemedicine, that sort of a thing, you might get a higher multiple. Okay. Getting anything more than 5x is pretty rare unless you're involved in some large rollover deal, something like that. That's possible. But generally speaking, 5X is going to be the max you're going to get. Okay. So go into this realistic. Go into this with a realistic expectation of about probably 3X, maybe 4, depending on what it is that you're doing in terms of a net income standpoint. So they're going to evaluate you based off of that, of your numbers, and then some other aspects we're going to go over here in a little bit, okay? So they assign a value to your business, and then they go to market with it. They'll put it on various sites where businesses are for sale. The broker will reach out to private equity firms who are interested in buying, a specific business that's doing cash-based HRT, cash-based weight loss, insurance-based primary care, et cetera. Okay. They're going to go out and find a buyer. Then the broker talks to these buyers and tries to sell them on it. Okay. They'll create a sales deck, basically a short PowerPoint of about 10 slides that go over what your business is, what numbers that you do, the processes in your business, et cetera. Okay. Then they present that to private equity. They present it to a buyer. If they're interested, then they'll speak to you as the owner. Make sure that they like you, basically. If they don't like you, they're not going to buy your business, okay? So they basically want to know, what it is, what business that you're doing, what it is that you're doing. Do they like you? Are you aligned kind of with their values? Do they like your personality, et cetera, okay? At that time, you will sign a letter of intent. They will give you a letter of intent. This letter is basically the intention to buy your business. Then at that point, the buyer will do due diligence. They're going to verify your numbers. They're going to verify your patient volume. They're going to go through your website. They're going to make sure that what it is that you're selling is actually legit. And that typically takes about 60 days. After 60 days, that's when you get the check. Okay. That's when you close. All right. They're going to write you a very, very big check. They're probably actually going to wire it to your bank account though. Okay. And then at that point, you usually have to stick around for 2 years. Okay. No one's going to buy your business and allow you to walk away. It's not going to happen. All right. It's just not going to happen. Nobody is going to buy your business and allow the business owner to walk away the day it closes. It's not going to happen. It's too much of a risk. They see this as an investment and they want their investment to pay off. You as the business owner, you sticking around for 2 years is absolutely critical to that investment. So you will probably have to stick around for 2 years. You'll be paid a salary. That's market rate for what it is that you're doing. After your post-close obligation is done, you can then walk away and do whatever you want. In terms of the payout goes, very few people will ever give you 100% upfront. It's not going to happen. They'll probably give you 70 to 80%. So if you sell your business for easy math, let's say you sell your business for $1 million, you'll probably get a check for $700,000-$800,000. You'll get the rest after your work obligation is done. That's how they know that you're going to be locked in and you're going to stick around. That's generally how it works. It's a pretty simple process. There's really not much to it. Okay. It can be pretty stressful. I mean, I've been through it multiple times. It is stressful. At the end of the day, you get a huge check. You can invest it and just let it compound and grow for you. It's great. I mean, it really is. I mean, I've gotten some pretty big checks before and I just throw it in the market and, it just grows. I don't have to do anything. So that's the really good aspect of it. All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all elite nurse practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and that other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode. Now, what do you have to do as a nurse practitioner entrepreneur to make sure that your business is sales ready? What do you do to make sure that it is attractive to a potential buyer? First and foremost, you have to make sure that you are growing, okay? Very few people are going to buy a business that is stagnant or that is actually slowing down. If it's slowing down, no one's going to buy it because they see the writing on the wall. They're like, hey, this person's trying to, get out because their business is slowing down because the market's become saturated. There's a lot of competition, some new regulations have hit, who knows the reason why it's slowing down. So you have to make sure that you are on an upward trajectory for growth. The best time to sell a business is during the growth phase of that business. Okay. That's the best time to sell. That usually can happen 3 to 5 years after you start the business. Okay. That's usually a good time to sell. Many private equity firms and buyers are going to want to see at a minimum of 3 years of history with your business. Okay. Many will want to see 5 years. If you just started the business a year ago or 2 years ago, it's going to be hard to sell that. You want to have at least 3 years behind you of history. So between that 3 to 5 year mark is usually the good time to sell the business. Okay. So keep that in mind. So they're going to want to see some history. They're going to want to see some growth. They're also going to want to make sure that the business owner is as hands-off as possible. Very few people are going to buy a business, a practice especially. That's a one-man show. Like if you're the only nurse practitioner seeing patients and you have like one staff member, that's going to be high risk because if you get into a car accident, what happens to the business? Like it basically fails, right? Because you're not there anymore. So they want to see the business owner as hands-off as possible. So with that said, you need to make sure that you have employees. You need to make sure that you have some other providers that are seeing patients for you. You basically need to be out of the business as much as possible. I'm selling my men's health clinic right now, and I don't do much. I see patients for a few hours a week. That's all I do. So like my work obligation post-close is going to be minimal. Like I'm not going to do much because I don't do much now. So if you want to sell your business, you need to start having employees. You need to start having other nurse practitioners, PAs, doctors, whatever, seeing the patients for you. Okay. That's going to be a critical aspect of selling your business. Okay. So you need to make sure that you have that going on. You also need to make sure that you have some standard operating procedures. Okay. This is very, very important. It's basically a guide or a workbook of how to run your business. You have to have this if you want employees and you want other nurse practitioners seeing patients. Okay. If you do weight loss, for example, you need to have some clinical protocols. Like you need to tell the nurse practitioner how you want patients seen and how you want it done, what to prescribe, how often to get labs, et cetera. You got to have some sort of workbook. You got to have some sort of standard operating procedure. That's going to be very, very important because the person who buys your business needs to have the workbook on how to run your business. I mean, chances are if they buy you out, they probably already have other clinics and they're probably just going to integrate their standard operating procedures into your business. So at the end of the day, it's probably a moot point. It doesn't really matter that much, but they're still going to want to see it. Okay. They see a business that has standard operating procedures as a low risk business because they know the business is being operated correctly. So that's a very, very important aspect of, making sure that your business is ready to sell. Okay. You also need to have a strong recurrent customer base. If you do sick visits, treat them and street them kind of a business model. That's not very attractive to a buyer because, you don't have a recurrent patient base. You don't have a recurrent customer base. So they want to see lots of patients on some sort of membership subscription program, or they want to see patients that are being seen very, very regularly. Okay. They want to see recurrent income. Okay. That's what it comes down to. So for a cash-based business, you want a subscription-based model. You want a membership-based model. They want to see recurrent income. That's very, very important. If you do not have some sort of recurrent income program in your business, it's going to be harder to sell that unless you're insurance-based and you have, a patient census of 5,000 patients or whatever that are coming in on a regular basis, you're billing insurance, et cetera. Or you have a really busy urgent care that sees, 50 patients a day or something like that. But overall, if it's a cash-based business, they are going to want to see some sort of membership subscription-based program. Very, very, very important. They're also going to want to see multiple locations or multiple states that you're practicing telemedicine in, okay? One single location is going to be higher risk because who knows what can happen to that town, that city. I mean, God forbid a tornado goes through and destroys the town, then what? You know what I mean? So they want to see multiple locations. They want the business to be redundant as possible, essentially is what I'm saying. They want to see as many redundancies. They want to see as many backup plans. Okay. So by having multiple locations or practicing in multiple states, via telemedicine, that's going to make your business more redundant. It's going to make it safer. All right. Very, very, very important aspect as well. Okay. They're also going to want to see good margins. If your margins are 10%, that's not a very profitable business. The good news is most of these cash-based kind of niche practices, your margins should be 40 to 50%. I'm going to talk about that in another podcast. But basically for, every $100,000 you make in gross revenue, they need to see a profit of $40 to $50,000 basically. So they want to see a good profit margin in your business. Okay. That's very, very important. They're also going to want to see some strong leadership potential in your business. Basically, they want to see that it's not only the business owner that's the leader, but there's also going to be a practice manager or a head NP or someone else that can take the lead, because once you leave, who's going to run the business? Chances are if big private equity backed company like HIMS or something buys you out, it's really not that big of a deal. They're probably going to assign some sort of regional director to your business. So it's not really that big of a deal. Okay. But just keep that in mind as well. They want to see that. They're going to want to see a mission statement. They're going to want to see some sort of vision. They're going to want to see some sort of goals for your business. What's the grand vision of your business? What's the growth strategy of your business? Okay. They want to see that your business is going to grow. Very, very important. All right. If you're doing all the things that I just talked about, chances are it's probably going to grow. So you want to make sure you have some goals and some growth strategies in place so they can see that your business is actually going to grow. Okay. That's a very, very important aspect as well. They're going to want to make sure that you are compliant. They do not want to buy a business that's breaking the law or that is going against regulation. Some things I've talked about in our courses and various podcast articles that I write, et cetera. I run my businesses kind of in the gray area, okay? But when you sell a business, you need to be regulatory compliant. If you do telemedicine, do you have an LLC in each state that you're operating out of? Personally, I just have one LLC. I really don't care about all that. But, if I sell my business, I'm in multiple states, I might have multiple LLCs. If you're doing telemedicine, do you have a DEA in each state? Do you have workman's comp insurance? Basically, are you doing all the things that you need to do to stay compliant from a regulation standpoint? That's going to be another big aspect of selling the business. No one's going to buy a business that's doing a bunch of illegal stuff, okay? If you're ordering a bunch of bulk meds at your practice, that are supposed to be patient specific and you're dispensing them to whoever, that's not going to be very attractive. That's going to be a big red flag, okay? So if you want to sell your business, you really need to look around and you need to make sure that everything is up to par, everything is compliant in your business, okay? That can't be stressed enough. That is very, very, very important. So all those factors I just outlined really are going to be the main aspects that you need to be aware in your business to sell it correctly, okay? There's always going to be a lot of little nuances that you might not know about. During the due diligence phase of someone buying your business, some stuff's going to be seen. They're going to find out things that might not be compliant to them, and they're going to want you to fix it before you sell. So for example, if you're writing off a lot of bullshit in your business, for example, they're going to want to make sure that you clean that stuff up. If you have a bunch of tax liabilities hanging around, you haven't been paying your taxes or you're doing a lot of shady stuff, writing off stuff that you shouldn't be, that's going to make it a lot less attractive. So you need to be aware of that. The big thing here though, guys, that, if you want to sell a business, I would probably recommend doing it sooner than later, because the future for these cash-based practices is really a big question mark, in my opinion. A lot of this isn't regulated, and chances are it's probably going to start being a lot more regulated in the future, which is going to make our life a lot harder. And so, for example, let's say that the GLP-1s get yanked off the market from a compounding pharmacy standpoint. There's a lot of NPs out there that, operate a weight loss practice, and 90% of their business is semaglutide, for example. What if semaglutide came off the market from a compounding pharmacy perspective? What if compounding pharmacies just completely and utterly stop making it? What happens to your business then? 90% of your income just goes away. You know what I mean? Same thing with hormone replacement therapy. God forbid, what if the FDA started regulating this stuff? What if they started banning compounded hormones? There's so many unknowns out there that, in my opinion, go ahead and get ready to sell if you truly want a large windfall income, because there's a lot of knowns right now. You know what I mean? There's a lot of big private equity companies that are backing, a lot of these niche kind of practices. So right now, in my opinion, 2024, I think it's a good time to sell if you are in a spot to sell it. How do you determine that? How do you know if you're in a good spot to sell it? Obviously, everything I talked about, you're out of the business as a business owner. You have lots of people, you have a membership program. You're compliant. You have multiple locations. Another thing too is, what do you do from an income standpoint? If you only do $100,000 a year net income, it's probably gonna be pretty hard to sell that business because it's not profitable. And if you do sell it, you might get $300,000. Like, you're not gonna get that much money from it. Like, does that really move the dial in your life? So in my opinion, I think if you're doing $500,000 plus a year net income, you're probably in a pretty good spot to sell it. If you're doing $300,000 or $400,000, you're probably in an okay spot to sell it if you can get like a 4x multiple, because that way, you're going to get over that $1 million mark. So, kind of keep that in mind. And I want to finish this with two more thoughts here, okay? First is, what moves the dial in your life? And second is, what can you actually expect to make? So what moves the dial in your life? I talked about this at the beginning of this podcast. Does $1 million move the dial in your life? Like, does that actually change your life? Or are you better off just operating your business and making a consistent income? For me personally, I have to make like $4 or $5 million to really move the dial in my life. If I can't sell a business for, more than $3 million, it's probably just not worth selling it, because I'd rather just have the income. So you have to really ask yourself, what moves the dial in your life, and what's going to be your purpose post-close? That's a big thing that happens to people that sell their business. They no longer have a purpose. A lot of them slump into depression because they just don't know what to do with themselves. So you got to make sure that you have some plans post-close to give yourself some purpose, okay? If all you do is practice as a nurse practitioner and that's your identity, it can be very difficult post-close because you just sold your business and you're going to sign a non-compete clause. You're not going to be able to go start another hormone replacement therapy business if you sold your hormone replacement therapy business. You're just not going to be able to. So you need to make sure that you have some sort of purpose. Like, for me, I'm cool just raising my kid, being a good dad, going fishing, going on vacation, maybe just doing some consulting here or there. I'm okay with not practicing anymore. Like, it's not going to bother me. I don't identify myself as a nurse practitioner. Like, that's not my identity. It's my profession, but it's not my identity. So you really need to make sure that you have a purpose. You need to make sure that you understand what moves the dial in your life. And also post-close, what can you expect to actually make, right? There's fees associated with selling a business. When you factor in the legal fees that you're going to have to pay a lawyer to make sure that the purchase agreement that you're signing with, whoever's buying your business is in your favor, you want to make sure that you are legally protected, and you're also going to have to pay the broker. Brokers make anywhere between 5 to 10%. Legal fees generally run anywhere between 3 to 5%. Okay. So good rule of thumb is that you're going to pay about 10% off the top in transaction fees. Okay. And then you're also going to have to pay taxes. There's just no way around it. I mean, there are some things that you can do to defer taxes, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have to pay those taxes at some point. My merger and acquisitions lawyer that I've used for a couple deals, he basically has always told me, just pay the taxes and be done with it. So when you sell a business, it's usually considered a long-term capital gains tax. So you're going to pay about 20%. So if you factor in the 20% in taxes and the 10% in broker and legal fees, okay, you're looking at 70% when it's all said and done. So if you sell your business for $1 million, in reality, after it's all said and done, after you pay taxes and legal fees, et cetera, you're looking at $700,000. So, anytime you sell a business, you need to have some realistic expectations on what it is that you're going to walk away with. A lot of times people sell a business and then they get really disappointed, at close when they finally figure out how much they're actually going to make. So go into it with realistic expectations, okay? You're probably only going to really walk away with about 70% when it's all said and done. And you need to make sure that when you sell your business, it moves the dial in your life. And you need to make sure you have some purpose post-close, all right? So go over this podcast again and make sure you're doing the things that I identified that as the most important processes and things you need to be concerned about in your business to sell it the right way. To sum it up, the biggest things are really, you need to be out of the business. You have to be out of the business. You have to have staff. You have to have other nurse practitioners seeing patients for you, okay? You have to. You have to be on a growth trajectory. Selling your business between the 3 to 5 year mark. As you grow, that's a good time to sell your business. You need to make sure your profit margins are between 40 and 50%. You make sure you're regulatory compliant, all right? And you need to make sure you have an established customer base with recurrent income. And also, you need to make sure you have some standard operating procedures, okay? You need to have some protocols and you need to have some procedures because anyone who buys your business is going to want to see those. If you do those things and you're making $500,000 plus a year in net income, not gross, net, all right, it might be a good time to sell your business, okay? That should really be your ultimate goal when you have a business, is to have an exit strategy so you can walk away with that FU money, okay? That's the whole point in my opinion. All right, hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2023 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.